Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Azan and Nicole. This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's get to the show.
Honey, stop.
When I go to hug you, don't tell me no. So don't push me away.
I didn't. Don't touch me, you know?
Can you talk to me for a second, please?
So just a little bit more data into the preoccupied avoidant dynamic. I don't know because I'd have to talk to them, but in a fight, the avoidant person typically wants to get away, and the preoccupied person typically will chase. And so we see that physically in this situation.
Look, listen. I tried to hug him out in public, and he kind of pushed me away. And the way he kind of looked at me, it really upset me. It's like, what are you doing? Just, I don't know. Hey, I'm really sorry.
No, put this way. That's nice.
So I wonder if they're going to let us in on what they got in a fight about. I wonder if it's about just that moment the other day when he said he didn't want any PDA while he was buying that item. I wonder if that's what they're fighting about.
If Nicole, she doesn't respect everything about my culture, I'm not sure, I can spend my whole life with her.
What's going on? What are you upset about?
I don't know. I feel like that will happen every day, and that's really making me
Okay,
feel
but
sad
I
and
understand
upset,
the
and I really hate
majority. I understand the
really hate
majority of it. We can't kiss and stuff and have
That's
huge
why I told you
hugs
that
and
she
stuff.
is terrible
But
all the time, you see.
look, I'm listening, talking to you. Okay, so they're not gonna arrest you for.
So it's not extreme, but if we were to analyze the communication there, the producer is asking him what's going on. And at first he says, I don't know, which is also kind of an avoidant thing to do. Then he asks again, and Azan says he starts to talk, and then Nicole turns to him and is being mildly aggressive, not terribly aggressive, but talking over him. I'm guessing what's happening, total speculation, they are triggering each other's traumas or each other's concerns. For her, the running hypothesis I have is preoccupied attachment based on inconsistent parenting when she was young. She's going to be triggered by signs of rejection. He is potentially avoidant, I don't know, but he comes across, he has some signs of it, and he also tends to be cold on the cold side. He is pulling away from her. What he's being triggered by, I think, is that she is not respecting his wishes. She's not respecting his boundaries. That's triggering him, and then he wants to pull away and say, you're not respecting my boundaries. And that triggers her because that feels like distancing and withdrawal, which it kind of is, and that terrifies her. And so she gives the chase, and then she wants to talk over. I'm beginning to see that pattern. If I was their couples therapist, I would say actually everything I'm saying right now to them to help them understand the way in which their attempts to solve the problem are actually causing the problem, and that the real issue at the bottom of everything is his desire for needing his own space and needing to feel like people love him enough to hear him, love him enough to give him space. That's an important thing that some people will hold very dear to them. Do you love me enough to let me walk away when we're getting in a fight? Do you love me enough to let me do that? Do you love me enough to hear me when I say I don't want to talk about it anymore? Or are you going to disregard that and invade my boundaries? For her, it's, do you love me enough not to pull away from me? Do you love me enough to know when I am desperate for closeness and a smile and some reassurance? And that's fine. They both have those desperations for whatever reason. It's somewhat normal to have those, and it's also indicative of certain traumas early in life or parenting deficits early in life. So that's what I'd say to them. And whenever I watch this show, I just want to reach into the TV and say these things and say, let's work on this, because if this is any indication of why you wanted me to respond to this, well, usually it means there's a lot of conflict. Everyone wanted me to watch Darcy, I'm guessing, because there was a lot of conflict. There's other reasons why people wanted me to watch Darcy as well, but I think that's part of it. And what it means is that this is in all likelihood going to get worse. And the reason why it gets worse is because they keep triggering each other. They don't know why they're doing that. They don't know why the other person is doing what they're doing, and things spin out of control. And if they only had just 10 minutes with a good couples therapist, everything could be fixed. Because I'll tell you, the kinds of couples that I've worked on, the sort of problems that I've worked on are much bigger than this. This is small potatoes compared to the sort of things that I've seen in my 20-plus career. This would be so easy to fix. And I just want to help them. I imagine it's like you're a plumber. I always bring up plumbing. I don't know, maybe in another life I was a plumber. And you're watching someone fit pipes and they're just doing it wrong. And you're like, no, that's going to cause all sorts of water damage. It's the same feeling for me.
Salting my shoulder.
You know, for me, it's like I really don't care if she gets stupid law or stuff, you know, because it's my culture and it's my country, and I really respect it and love it. So I really don't care.
But I'm sure they.
So he's doing that thing that I was talking about earlier by, instead of saying she's not respecting me, she's not respecting my wishes, he's triangulating in the other thing. Now, like I said, maybe he really does want to be affectionate, and he's saying, no, my culture and the laws, I have to abide by this. But I suspect, at the very least, he wants her to respect his culture, and I'm guessing he wants her to respect him, that he wants her to value his own wishes, which she doesn't seem to be doing. Now, it's confusing to her because she's like, but I'm just trying to love on you. Why would you not want me to love on you? That's confusing to me. Well, maybe it's not the way that he wants to be loved on. There's lots of different ways people like to be loved on.
They don't care if I put
so
my
I really
arm
don't
around
care
you.
whatever she think about it, really. If she
You don't
think
care.
it's
You just don't care
stupid or
about
stuff
anyone.
like this,
You don't care
but
about
I
what
really
people
don't
say.
care. Just wish you could really not talking much, you know. You really talk much, that's bad.
No, it's not bad
It's
to
really
talk
bad.
much. No, it's.
So the zone of communication that they're in right now is destructive. There's nothing good that is happening from what's happening right now. I see this happen on my couch all the time. When this happens, there's a number of different approaches, but the main thing I do is I will put the brakes and I'll be like, so I just want to point out that you've both triggered each other and you're both not being constructive in your communication. Let's take a deep breath. I want you to talk to me. Don't talk to each other because I think you're just going to cause more damage. Talk to me. Tell me how you feel, what's going on, and I get people to calm down. It's kind of a Gottman technique. It's also kind of a EFT attachment-based technique as well to some extent. Anyway, the point is that when we see this kind of argument, it looks like, well, it's two people trying to work something out, but it's not. It's two people trying to hurt each other, and this is where the damage gets done. I'm guessing all of you have been in conversations like this where you're just fighting, and what you remember is what the other person said. What you remember is like, I can't believe that my boyfriend or my wife or my partner said those things to me. Well, the other person remembers all the crap you said to them. And that's what's happening right now, and it's sad to see.
It's
I
not.
hate that.
I'm sorry. I guess that's just how I am.
I know.
You should know by now I'm not a sit and listen kind of girl.
You should know by now that I'm not a sit and listen kind of girl. It's interesting because I would have thought that she wouldn't have that side to her because she comes across as so sweet, right? She seems to have this other mode, this protective mode, this sassy mode, if you will. So maybe we'll get more data on that.
That's stupid.
What's happening? Talk to me.
This is just so stupid.
Why?
Like, okay, I don't want him to, like, romantically hug me and fill up my body. I just want him to have his arm around me and to feel proud to show me to people. Maybe I just like being shown off and like feel like someone's proud of me because before no one really wanted to be with me. Maybe that's just my insight.
So we're seeing this attitude, sassy side of her that is something that I see people do. It's sort of a tough girl persona that is presented here that seems really in contrast to her more common persona that we see. Now, I'm not saying either persona is better than the other. I'm just saying it is different. And it usually means that they're really hurt. And when people get hurt, they have various different styles of masking their vulnerability because they're ashamed. And this is one of the things. It's a lot of, this, yeah, and what's wrong with this, and what's wrong with that? You just see that kind of body language. But she said something very critical, I think, for us to hear, that she wants him to be proud of her and to be proud to be with her, because she has been made to feel in the past that people weren't proud to be with her. So that's interesting. That I hadn't intuited that, and I'm wondering why I didn't intuit that. But she has past history where that is true, and then this cultural practice of not having PDA, not having public display of affection, triggers that trauma for her of like, well, are you just like acting like you're not associated with me, you're not proud of me, you don't love me, you don't love me enough to feel proud to be with me, and you're not going to touch me in public because you don't want anyone to know that we're together. She might even have actual traumas around lack of PDA, where someone was like, don't touch me because I don't want anyone to see me with you. She might have had those kinds of traumas. I don't know. She seems to be saying that. I just want to, again, reach into the television and say to her, I'm with you. It's fine. It makes total sense that you're angry. It makes total sense you're hurt. Let's try to work together on this. Let's try to communicate. Because I'm guessing if she were to say, Azan, do you understand how much it hurts me based on my past when you do this, this, and this? Do you understand how much that hurts me? Then I would get Azan to really understand her and, put aside his defenses and really get it. And then Azan would tell her, on my couch, yes, I get that you're hurt and it makes sense. And I'm sorry about that. I don't have any choice because this is my culture and it may be even kind of my own preference, but I understand how it makes you feel and I'm really sorry. That's it, because people usually get latched on to behavior. I need you to put your arm around me in public or else. I need you to respect my boundaries and my culture or else. Instead of both people hearing each other and being like, I get that you're really hurt by this and it makes total sense to me. That connection of understanding really, really bonds people. There's always going to be incompatibilities. Someone's a morning person, someone's a night person. Someone likes to go out with their friends, someone doesn't. Someone likes to watch 90 Day Fiancé, someone likes to watch American football. There's going to be incompatibilities. So how do you work out those incompatibilities? Well, you have to hear each other, and you have to validate each other's feelings and say, I get that when I do this, it hurts you. I don't know if I can ever change who I am, but I get that it hurts you, and I'm really sorry.
Maybe that's from my childhood. I don't know what it is, but it just pisses me off, and he should understand me a little more.
So let's rewind because she said something about her childhood, which is very rare for this show. Let's rewatch that.
What's happening? Talk to me.
This is just so stupid.
Why?
Okay, I don't want him to, romantically hug me and fill up my body. I just want him to have his arm around me and to feel proud to show me to people. Maybe I just like being shown off and feel like someone's proud of me, because before no one really wanted to be with me. Maybe that's just my insights. Maybe that's from my childhood. I don't know what it is, but it just pisses me off, and he should understand me a little more than that.
She wants him to understand her. Great. She's not really giving him a chance because she's talking over him. She's saying, you're a bad person. She's giving that vibe, and she is not validating his feelings about boundaries and about his culture. So she's on the right track, and there's something to work with there of okay, you're saying it's something to do with your childhood. Great. That's a wonderful thing to lead with when you're saying to him, by the way, Azan, I don't know if it has to do with my childhood or whatever or past relationships, but when you don't put your arm around me, it really triggers me. That's always, you want to take responsibility. Don't blame someone else, because rarely do people do things on purpose to hurt your feelings. 99% of the time, unless you're with a psychopath, which is extremely rare, there's only like 1% of the population like that, then they deeply care about your feelings. And so, or at the very least, they don't want to hurt you. And this interpretation that I'm hurt and it's because of them, they must have meant to hurt me. They must have done that on purpose, or they neglected to care about my feelings. That's almost always the interpretation at first. You have to get beyond that and say, okay, let me give the person the benefit of the doubt. Azan didn't try to make me feel this way. I do feel this way, but he didn't try to make me feel this way. So why would I feel this way even though he didn't intend or neglect to do something to make me feel this way? Well, maybe I just have issues. It's okay to admit you have issues. It's okay, because we all do. We all have issues. I have issues. You have issues. Everyone has issues. It's okay. Just admit it. I have issues. I don't know if this is my fault. It might be. But here's what's happening for me. I'm freaking out, and I really just want you to put your arm around me when we're in public. And I don't know what to do about that. You're telling me it's your culture, but honestly, it kind of feels like you're just using that as an excuse. I don't know. Maybe that interpretation has to do with my past. Can we talk about this? It's a much more inviting, more welcoming way of opening up that conversation. So I'm worried about them now. They seemed so sweet when they started out.
Hassan.
What? What do you want?
Come here.
What?
You really don't care about my feelings?
I don't care from now. I'm sorry.
You really don't care about my feelings?
I'm sorry about it.
Wow, I don't know if that's a language barrier or something, or he is still activated, or he is saying, I don't care about those feelings. I don't care about your feelings about PDA and stuff, because you haven't cared about my feelings of boundaries. So if you're not going to care about my feelings about my culture and my boundaries, then I don't care about your feelings about wanting PDA. I don't know what he's saying. This is another avoidant thing that people will do. Tom and Darcy did this. Tom would do this where they have a lot of thoughts going on in their head, but they say almost like just, 0.2% of what's going on in their head, because when they're triggered, they're trying not to be vulnerable, and they interpret vulnerability with saying what's in their head, which I guess it is. So they say as little as possible and hope that the other person understands. They also will say very little, but think they said a lot. And then they'll walk away from the conversation saying like, well, I don't understand why she doesn't understand me. But when you actually play the tape back, it's like, well, you barely gave her a chance to understand you. So I don't know what's happening right now. To say just the words, I don't care about your feelings, is quite a statement. Again, I wish maybe we'll find out why he would say that, if it was a misunderstanding or he's still triggered or what's going on here.
I can't live, I can't live with that. That's really...
Live with what? I can't live with the way you feel.
The way you act all the time, And firstly,
you say
all
you
what I want you to do...
That. You don't always treat me right. Why are you doing that?
Listen to me. I don't care if you're living in America, okay? I don't care about your culture. Firstly, you should respect my culture because you are in...
I respect your culture.
Because
you're not respecting me.
Because you are in Morocco
Maybe
now.
I feel like you're not proud of me.
In a way.
Maybe you don't want to hold my hand.
That's not true. That's not
Then why can't you just show me off?
Listen, can I just talk? Can you stop talking for a second? I really care about my culture.
I care about
the
too.
law. I care about the law.
But
So her interrupting him is a little concerning. It's not helping the situation. Again, a therapist would help. Let's take some turns. Take a deep breath, Nicole. I know that you're triggered and you want to manage his feelings by talking at him, but that's not going to help. Let's listen. Now, when I do stuff like that, the Nicoles of the world will sometimes hate me, at least temporarily, because it's triggering for a therapist to say, shut up, essentially. I don't say shut up, but it comes across to the client as shut up. I try to say it as nice as I can, but it comes across as shut up, be quiet, listen. And that can be very triggering to people because they might have been told to be quiet a lot. So there's a very tricky dance there as a therapist that you have to do. But she's not helping the situation by talking over him. He's not helping the situation by not validating her feelings. So from his stance, what would help is to say, okay, I'm hearing you say that you feel like I'm not proud of you, that I don't love you, and that I don't want to show you off. That's not true. You're mistaking my culture, my responsibility to my culture, as being somehow like I don't love you and I don't care about you and I don't want to show you off. We're on international TV. I obviously don't care. I'm not trying to hide our relationship. So he could be more convincing and then say, so have we put that to rest? Okay, I want you to respect my culture. And I've seen this happen on the show a lot, and I guess I've seen it in life a lot. Americans tend to believe that we have the only culture on the planet. A lot of Americans don't even think they have a culture. I've heard people say that. It's just like, oh, I'm American, I don't have a culture. It's like, what? Everyone comes from a culture. People only say that because they're so drowned in their own culture that everything is normalized around them, and they don't notice their culture because everyone around them is of the same culture as them. When people come from other countries where there's more mixture of different cultures, it becomes very clear. I grew up half Japanese and half Japanese American, half white American, half European American. And for me, it was very noticeable that I had a different culture as the Japanese side of me from the white community that I grew up in. And so I noticed like, oh, white culture does this, and my Japanese American culture, we do this. That lesson taught me that American culture is a thing, and that my culture is a thing, and that cultures are different and different ideas are different. If you don't grow up in that, you might have this assumption that you don't have a culture, one, and that your culture is right, and all the things that you think are right. The practices, the assumptions, the way you act, the way you think about gender and religion and all those kinds of things, that this is just the healthy way to live. Instead of thinking, well, it's one healthy way to live, and it's the way my culture prescribes is the healthy way to live, but I have to be humble about that culture when I interface with other people, because other people have other cultures with other assumptions about the way to live. And so, because it's not hard for me, at least, to imagine him in a world where he's just like, I don't think you understand how different American culture and Moroccan culture is. Here, PDA is just not, and I don't want to do it. Not only is it my culture, but I don't want to do it because I am of that culture. I don't want to do a public PDA because our cultures, and I'm like this. I am from my culture. And instead, and he's pleading with her to get her to understand. And from her standpoint, she's just like, anyway, I don't feel loved. And so maybe if she had a little bit more humility around her culture, she might be able to hear him, which actually would help her to feel less rejected and less triggered in this moment.
Respect the old people who can see us. That's, that's shame in Morocco. You can't do that.
Putting your arm around someone.
Yeah, that you can't do that in Morocco. Yeah, that's true. So I'm sorry.
So how are you going to show me off? If you can't do any of that stuff, how can you show me off?
I don't know.
Because literally you're making me feel like you're making me. You need to figure it out though. Literally you're making me feel like I don't matter.
Yeah. So?
Yes,
so.
So she is occasionally giving him opportunities to care about her. She just said right there, you're making me feel like I don't matter. That's a great opportunity for him to say, oh, I'm really sorry about that. I don't know if I can change my culture and the way I operate, but man, I'm so sorry you feel that way. Instead, he says, so. Why would he say that? Well, one, he doesn't actually care about her, which I don't think is true. Or two, he's so activated that he is angry and has a hard time having empathy for other people. Avoidant attachment people will sometimes be that way, in that they tend to think it's just like, well, your feelings are your own fault. And if you have another thing that avoidant people actually struggle with is a lot of guilt. There's various different reasons for that, but they will sometimes feel a lot of guilt about making other people feel bad. Because once they decide early in life to avoid, they kind of shut themselves off from other people, and they will inadvertently hurt other people's feelings a lot. And so they might frequently get this accusation of, you don't care about my feelings. You're a robot. And, you don't even respect me. And so they get that accusation a lot when they don't really feel like they deserve it, even though they might deserve it. But they don't really know why they're being yelled at in that way. And so they might have a lot of shame and guilt of just like, man, am I a terrible person? Am I a robot? And so when other people have feelings, particularly, right now, as she's saying, you're making me feel this way. He might have this policy of just like, because of the shame and guilt, one way to deal with it is just like, you know what? Screw other people when they talk about that. That's their problem. If they're going to have their feelings, why is that my fault? Why is everyone's feelings my fault? Some avoidant people will feel that way. So maybe that's why he's doing this right now too. I don't know. It's unfortunate that they're doing it this way.
I don't matter?
No, not anymore. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I don't like this.
Get away from me.
It makes sense. I mean, if your boyfriend or fiance tells you, no, I don't care about your feelings. I don't care. I don't care at all. That is a massively horrible thing to say. And it's unclear where that's coming from. I have hypotheses as to why he would say that. And of course, she is going to get very upset. I'm a little concerned that she got hands-on with him. It looked like she wanted to throttle him, actually, but restrained herself and then went around the car here. This makes a lot of sense, the crying and the hurt.
I don't know. I'm sorry, but I don't know. She really don't care about my culture, about my religion, and she even don't respect my religion. That's really bad. I can't live with that, I don't know now if I can ask her to marry me. Even if I love her, but I don't know. Yeah.
All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I watched Nicole and Azan. Please subscribe, hit the bell, comment, like this episode, subscribe on your podcatcher, and become a patron. And please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.